Hello. Hello. The date is June 5 or June 6. It's a Saturday. Day before Sunday. I think it's June 6, I think. I'm not sure. Either one. Maybe it's June 7. Man, it's either one of those days. Today's Sunday. Reading Genesis 40. Maybe we'll go. I think today we're gonna read a long one. Let's see how I feel. Okay, Scooby is by my side. Well, he was. Okay, here we go. This is good. Yeah, that's not gonna really work because you can't really see my face. Well, maybe in one of these videos you get to see my face. Actually, when I read the Bible. And here we go. The cupbearer and the baker. Before I start, I was listening to a song by Iggy Azalea called "Work." I haven't heard that song since I was in middle school. Brought back so many memories. Give them blow, they don't know shit. I'm sorry. The cupbearer and the baker. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master. The king of Egypt, Pharaoh, was angry with his two assistants. The chief cupbearer, stop it, and the stop. And the chief baker put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. Confined? The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they'd been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker. I think my dog has a foot fetish, I'm not really sure. The baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why are your faces so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered. Fine, take my sock, but you can't take my shoe. There, take my sock. Leave. Do not interpretations belong... what? "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." And then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpret belongs to God. Tell me in your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed and it clustered, ripened into grapes." That's a good dream. The Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. "This is what it means," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches are 3 days." Whoa. Fine, take my other sock too. I swear, he has a foot. Look at him. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you in your position, and he will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. Aw, he's licking my toes right now. Thank you, buddy. That feels nice. You remember, cousin, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison, for I was forcefully carried off the land of the Hebrews, and even there I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. Oh great, my dog threw up. Trigger warning in 3, 2, I'm gonna show it in 3, 2, 1. Candy threw up. He didn't do it. Candy did. Candy threw up, not him. And Candy's gonna... Most of the time she eats it. I swear, if it's there the whole time as I read the Bible, this is... Oh, this is gonna be disgusting. I mean, it's her... Yeah, okay. I don't get sick when I see my dog throw up. It's just not real. Some people do. And we put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to do Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your hand and restore you into your position. And you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. For I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream. On my head there were 3 baskets of bread, and in the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what this means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat away at your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast to all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Pharaoh's dreams. When 2 full years has passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile, when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the river bank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows, and then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were grown on a single stalk. After them 7 other heads of grain sprouted thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy full heads. And then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning his mind was troubled, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. And then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, Today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Pharaoh was once angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream. And things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was hanged. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. when he had shaved and changed his clothes, so he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. I cannot do it, Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. And then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile, when out of the river there came up 7 cows, fat and sleek, and they grazed among the reeds. After them 7 other cows came up, scrawny and very ugly and lean. I had never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. The lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows first, but they looked as ugly as before, and then I woke up. In my dream, I also saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered, and thin, and scorched by the east wind. The thin of heads of grain swallowed up the 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none could explain it to me. And then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. A grain of 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. And then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh, to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God? And then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all of this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. Joseph in charge of Egypt. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine. Okay, these are the questions. How are they gonna feed seven? How are they gonna store all that food? Stop it! Because back in those days, you didn't have any refrigerators. So how are they gonna store food when everything's gonna mold? That's my question. In the modern day technology, I mean, you could probably just buy MREs, you know, but back in the day you didn't have a refrigerator, so I really wonder how they're gonna keep that from not molding. No way. I'm gonna answer these questions. Pause. You can pause them and answer them yourselves. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Look at him. He's like licking my feet. Okay. I'm gonna answer these questions silently to myself. Dude, I will be so freaking happy I'm out of prison. But then I'll be kind of wary that Famine will soon come after me. Stop! Kitty, stop! The neighbors have already complained that she's been punching a lot, so we need to keep her quiet. Oh shit, my glasses fell. Where's my phone? Why are you barking at me for, buddy? Which of these qualities do you most need or desire for yourself? Having the ability for God speaking to me. I never had an experience of God ever speaking to me. It seems like God speaks a lot to Joseph. And also having Joseph's patience with even his faith in God. When was the last time you went to God about your business or really relate to that. I never had that experience of him never speaking with me, so that sounded like selfish. When was the last time you wondered if God, I forgot about you? I don't know. Do you think God is using your child to prepare you for something? If so, what? I don't know. I have no idea. I also think that sometimes in life things happen for a reason. Not just because of God, but I really do believe that people in life are here because of the things that you have done. Like I'm unemployed because I wasted my years in high school. Not because of God, right? But I do believe that God can send you in a direction. And I believe I said this in a couple videos ago that God can hand you the map. He can put out a map for you. He can tell you this is where you need to go. But you have to walk those miles. You have to drive those miles. You have to somehow find the money for the gas to drive it. He can hand you the map. He can hand you the location of where to go. But you have to get there yourself. By any means necessary, whether it's walking, riding a bike, in a car, or a little bit of both. And you have to come up with the answer of how am I going to get there. Right? But I also do believe that you're in your current situation because of the lack of choices that you have made. Like if you commit a crime and you're in prison, well, you're in prison because you committed a crime. You're not in prison because God wanted you to be in prison. Like you did it. You committed the crime. Right? How can this group pray for me? I think it's more of I need to start praying for myself in terms of believing in God, because I'm still not at the point where I believe in God. I'm just reading the Bible once a week, and that's it. I don't believe in God right now, but I also don't believe in God. It's just that I wouldn't say like, I'm not convinced. It's just that I don't feel any emotion when I read the Bible. It's just one of these things where I read the Bible once a week, and I'm reading God for the rest of the week. It's not something that I'm emotionally invested in. Just to be honest with you. So, okay. Here's what I wrote for these questions. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's all. That's what I wrote. Okay. Going on to the next page. Linen of he dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. Oh, I have a gold chain. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and men shouted before him, "Make way!" This he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And then Pharaoh said to Jacob, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift hand or foot in all Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zipporah Pidah, and gave him Asnath, daughter of Partahira, priest of On, to be his wife, and Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out of Pharaoh's presence and traveled through Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentiful. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. In each city he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph by Asnath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God had made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. The second son he named Ephraim, and said, It is because God had made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end. And the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the other lands, but the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. And then Pharaoh told the Egyptians, Go to Joseph and do what he tells you. When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened the storehouses and sold grain to Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe in all the world. Joseph's brothers go to Egypt. When Joseph learned that there were grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, Why do you just keep looking at each other? He continued, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us, so that we may live and not die. And then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt, but Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. So Israel's sons were among those who went to buy grain, for the famine was in the land of Canaan also. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the one who sold grain to all the people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them. He pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Where do you come from? He asked. From the land of Canaan, they replied, to buy food. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. That he remembered his dreams about them, and said to them, You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected. No, my lord, they answered, your servants have come to buy food. We are not all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies. No, he said to them, you have come to see where our land is unprotected. But they replied, Your servants were 12 brothers, the sons of one man, who lives in one land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and no one is no more. Joseph said to them, It is just as I told you, you are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. And he put them all in custody for 3 days. On the third day Joseph said to them, Do this, and you will not live, for I fear God. If you are the honest men, let one of your brothers stay in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, and that you may not die. This they proceeded to do. They said to one another, Surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why his distress has come upon us. Reuben replied, Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for this blood. They did not realize that Joseph couldn't understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He turned away from them and began to weep, but then turned back and spoke to them again. He had Simon taken from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill the bags with grain, to put each other man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to feed for his donkey. He saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. My silver has been returned, he said to his brothers. Here it is in my sack. Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other trembling and said, What is this that God has done to us? When they came to their father Jacob from the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them. They told him, all that had happened to them. They said, The man who is Lord over the land spoke harshly to us and treated us as though we were spying on the land. But we said to him, We are honest men, we are not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of one father. One is no more. and the youngest is now with our father in Canaan. And then the man who is Lord over the land said to us, This is how I will know whether you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for your starving households, and go and bring your youngest brother with me, so I will not. Judy, stop! Look at him. He's tearing up the word of, look at. He just did that. At least he didn't do anything important. He didn't remember the important words. At least when I read this Bible, I always have a memory of when I flip back to this page, my dog did that. A piece of his DNA is ingrained in this Bible. So I will know that you are not spies, but honest men, and then I will give your brother back to you, and you can trade in the land. As they were emptying their sacks there, and each man's sack was his pouch of silver. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. Their father Jacob said to them, You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me. And then Reuben said to his father, You may put both of my sons to death, if I do not bring him back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will bring him back. But Jacob said, My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow. The second journey to Egypt. Now the famine was still severe in the land, so when they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Go back and buy us a little more food. But Judah said to them, The man warned us solemnly, You will not see my face again unless your brother is with me. If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go down, because the man said to us, You will not see my face unless your brother is with you. Israel asked, Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother? They replied, The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. Is your family still living here? Do you have another brother? We simply answered his question. How were we to know? We would say, Bring your brother down here. And then Judah said to Israel his father, Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned west. And then their father Israel said to them, If I must be, and then do this, put some of the best products of the land in your bags, and take them down to the man as a gift, a little balm and a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return that silver that was put back in the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also, and go back to the man at once, and may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved. So the men took the gifts and doubled the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, Take these men to my house, slaughter an animal, and prepare dinner. They have to eat with me at noon. The man did as Joseph told him, and took the man to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. They thought we were brought here because of the silver that was put back in our sacks the first time. He wants us to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys. So they went up to Joseph's steward and
spoke to him at the entrance to the house. Please, sir, they said, we came down here the first time to buy food, but the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks, and each of us found the silver, the exact weight in the mouth of his sack. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put out our silver in our sacks. It's all right, he said. Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver. And then he brought Simon out to them. The steward took the men in Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon because they heard that they were to eat there. When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him in the ground. He asked them how they were, and then he said, How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living? They replied, Your servant, our father is still alive and well. And they bowed low to pay him honor. And he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son. He asked, Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about? And he said, God be gracious with you, my son. Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to eat. And he went into his private room and wept there. After he had washed his face, he came out and controlling himself, said, Serve the food. They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with them by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews. That is detestable to Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as more as anyone else's, so they feasted and drank freely with him. A silver cup in a sack. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the man's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. And then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys, and they had gone far from the city when Joseph said to the steward, Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup of my master's drink from, and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done. When you caught up with them, he repeated those words to them. But they said to him, Why does my Lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mounds of our sacks. Why would we steal silver? Or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves. Very well, then, he said, let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. And then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes, and then they loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, What is this you have done? Don't you know a man like me can find things out by divination? What can we say to my Lord? Judah replied. What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my Lord's slaves, we ourselves and the one who was found to have the cup. But Joseph said, Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace. And then Judah went to him and said, Please, my Lord, let your servant speak a word to my Lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My Lord asked his servants, Do you have a father or a brother? And we answered, We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left. His father loves him. And then you said to your servants, bring him down to me so I can see him for myself. And we said to my Lord, the boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die. But you told your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my Lord had said. And then our father said, go back and buy a little more food. But we said, we cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother
Alright, so my mic died in the middle of filming. My microphone died, ran out of battery. But I'm going to keep reading the Bible. I'm going to keep reading the Bible as documentation that I completed reading the Bible. So the audio sucks because my microphone is not charged. It died. It died. Where was I? But we said we cannot go down only if our youngest brother is with us. Will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me, and I said, he will surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery. So now if the boy is not with us, when I go back to your servant, my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servant will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant granted the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servant remain here at my Lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with my brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that will come upon your father. I'm gonna read 45. I really do apologize that my microphone died in the middle. I thought it was charged, but it's not. Sorry about that. But I'm still going to keep filming because I need this as a documentation. So if people believe me that I've read the Bible out loud. So that's just as documentation. I'm not going to stop this current filming of week 16 of reading the Bible. Joseph makes himself known. And then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, Have everyone leave my presence. I'm gonna get up. There. Have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. And then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will not be plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me and don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. You, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly." And then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin embraced him weeping, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward his brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers do this. Load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land." You are also directed to tell them, "Do this. Take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours." So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions of his journey. And then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I'm convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Okay, I'm gonna answer these questions, and that'll be it for the day. Today we read 40 all the way to 45, going on to 46, but that's gonna be till next week. So these are the questions. I'll give you about 5 seconds to screenshot this. There's Scooby. All right. Hey, this is what I said to all the questions. You can screenshot them. Give you 2 seconds. Okay. Now I'm gonna answer these 5. I'm gonna answer 5, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. I'm gonna hold up my phone to my face because the microphone's died. The best thing about fighting is making up. How does that saying fit with your family or friendships? I mean, when my family fights, nothing happens. I think we just sleep on it and pretend it didn't happen. Like if we yell, we just wake up the next day and it doesn't happen. So I guess time heals all wounds. Like we literally fight, and we just pretend it didn't even happen. Honestly, it's a new day. New week, new me. That's what we usually do. It's a new day. We just forget about it. No one says sorry. It's a new day. If you have a severed or strained relationship in your life, what would it take for you to reach out and take the initiative like Joseph did? I don't have a relationship that really needs to be seeked out for forgiveness. It's one of those things where we reached a agreement, like my ex. We don't talk to each other, but it's just one of those things where there's nothing to say. And I don't have the best relationship with my brother, but again, I don't know his phone number, I don't know his email. And then also, in life, you can't think with your heart. You have to think with your brain. My brother is not a good person. He's a hacker. He steals money. So if I reach out to him, he's probably going to take money. He's gonna kill my father. Like honestly, it's drama. So besides my brother and my ex, I don't really have like a severed relationship. How much is your willingness to reach out affected by the response you expect to get? I don't plan on reaching out to my brother anytime soon, just in fear of being manipulated. And it's not about, oh, it's the right thing to do. But in the real world, it's not about, oh, it's the right thing to do. It's about, it's the smart thing not to do is not to talk to that person. Because with technology, my brother is the type of person, I don't know how or, why, he's very smart with computers. Well, not specifically, he's smart. He has a girlfriend. I don't know if they're still dating. She's a hacker, like a professional hacker you see in those movies. She'll send you an email, you open the link, and now she knows all your passwords. Have you ever seen the movie? I mean, the TV show Mr. Robot? Yeah. So, it's not about, oh, it's the right thing to do, it's family. It's about being smart. I don't want that negativity in my life ever again. It's about being smart, and it's about being smart with who you talk to, and how you talk to people as well. I can go into hours talking about my relationship with my brother and the things he's done and the things that his girlfriend has done. But again, that's another story for another time. Joseph saw God control in every aspect of his life. In what area of your life do you struggle to see God in control? That's a good question. It's not so much of a struggle. It's about believing in God. I've been noticing a lot of these questions relate to how does God talk to you? What do you do if God does this in your life, and blah blah blah. I don't know. That's the question. I never had a heart moment with God. I never really had a coming of age moment with God. I had times where I had dreams, but that could just be about anything. But I never really had specifically a moment where I knew this was God. It's more of a gut feeling of, your gut tells you to do this, then I just do it, right? I had times like that before. But in terms of the God, I never had God speak to me. I never had a moment of faith. In what area of life do you struggle to see God? I would say everywhere, man. I don't see him at all. And that's the thing. I don't know if I'll ever see him. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I'm not emotionally invested in God. And so I think the question I should be asking myself is, how do I get emotionally attached to God? How do I get closer? How do I have that emotional relationship? Because now my relationship with God is just that something that I read once a week. And I talk about it on my YouTube channel. There is no emotional connection. I don't feel happy. I don't feel sad. When I read the Bible, it's just a book to me. It's just a book. So the question I should be asking myself is, how do I hone into the more emotional side of me involved with God? And that's a question that I don't know the answer to. Because as I'm reading the Bible each week, I'm feeling the same from when I started. It's not like each week, I have more faith in God or something. It's just, I'm just not there yet. I don't know if God feels the same. And then too, with me being a homosexual, I don't know if God will ever talk to me. I'm very happy if he would talk to me, because I never know what it's like. And a lot of people say, oh, God spoke to me, and it's the best feeling in the world. And I would really, really like to know what that feels like. But I don't, I can't speak from that. The only thing that I could think of is going online, watching videos of people explaining how it feels to be spoken to God, talking to my mom, because she had many moments of God speaking to her. She even talks in tongues when she goes to church, talking in tongues. So I can't really explain the feeling, because I've never had the experience of God talking to me. How would you like the group to pray for you? I would flip it this week. We can flip it instead of saying how can they pray for you, or how can I pray for you. I think this week I need to pray for myself. How can I answer the question of how can I get emotionally attached to God? How can I believe in him more? How can I put faith in him? Because right now I don't really have faith. It's not like I don't believe in God. It's just that it's a book to me. I read it, and that's it. That's what it is to me. But then there's also the aspect of Jesus. I've read online that people believe in Jesus, but they don't believe in God. That God is different, People say that you should fear God, but when it comes to Jesus, you should love Jesus. But when it comes to God, you should fear him. I probably won't get to the New Testament in probably 5 years from now, knowing at the pace that I'm going at right now. But the question we should all be asking ourselves is, how can we get the ability to speak with God? How can we have the ability to be closer to God? And I don't know. I don't know if I'm the perfect candidate to be a Christian or not. I don't know who I am. In terms of, when it comes to religion, I don't know who I am, but I do know who I am in real life. But in terms of religion, I don't know if I would call myself a Christian. I don't know if I would call myself a believer in God. It's just that I happen to read the Bible once a week, and that's it. It's just one of those things where I'm just not that emotionally attached to God. At least not yet. I think we only have 10 chapters left in the Bible, I believe, right? Not bad. Anyway, I'll see you next week for Genesis 46. Alright, thanks guys. You are the best for sticking with me, even if you don't ever want, I never get any views or any comments on these Bible videos, but I'm sure I will one day. Hopefully I will influence someone out there to read the Bible. Thank you so much.